Alright everybody, hello and welcome as always. I am Sean, this is In The Mixer, episode 130. Happy Friday, wherever in the world you happen to be watching. Happy whatever day of the week it is if you're watching this one on the playlist or after the fact. But it's Friday today. It's the last two games of our third season in the Premier Division, and we have our first real opportunity to try and secure European football for the very first time in our history. Now, if you haven't gone and watched yesterday's episode, go and check it out. You'll have to figure out for yourself, have I continued playing and just changed my shirt, or is that yesterday's episode entirely? You'll never really know. But checking that episode out will tell you exactly where we are at going into the last two games of the season. Go and check that one out now, because we're going to jump pretty much straight in and talk through our final day scenario. So, as you guys can see, just above my head, we are currently sitting in 5th position in the Premier League, level on 67 points with quite a few different clubs. What's going to be very interesting about this episode is there's a few games happening on this Wednesday the 10th where we don't have a game. So our scenario and our situation at the end of today's match against Brighton may be very different to the scenario when we go into the last game of the season against Leicester. At present, you can see Liverpool, Tottenham and ourselves all on 67 points. We have an inferior goal difference to all those sides, and we're definitely not going to catch them in today's episode at any point. And then just behind us, Chelsea on 65 points, level with Southampton on 65, and a gap has opened up to Bournemouth down in 8th position on 56. I think we are guaranteed a top 7 finish, but at the moment only the top 6 spots are guaranteed European football for next year. Why do I say guaranteed? Because the top 7 positions go into European Conference League playoffs, Europa League group stages and Champions League group stages, and we've got a couple of different English teams that are actually still involved in those competitions. First up, Manchester United in the Champions League final against Roma. They will of course qualify for that competition as champions, and then again as reigning and defending champions in that competition. Tottenham are also involved in the Europa League. If they win that, they'll qualify for Champions League football regardless of where they finish in the division. And the Europa Conference League, which is the UEFA Cup 2 in other people's databases, Liverpool in that competition, which will mean they qualify for the Europa League regardless of their league position if they win that competition, which makes it a very, very messy final day of the season, or final couple of games. League position, we have to try and finish as high as humanly possible, because there's scenarios and situations where we might finish above Tottenham, Liverpool, and they actually win their European finals and therefore qualify for Europe that way. So there's a whole bunch of different stuff that we have to make sure we get 6 points if we can in today's episode. Brighton are no pushovers, Leicester are no pushovers. We're going to have to be at our best to beat them both. Let's jump forward to the game against Brighton now and look at the two lineups. So we are, of course, wearing our very, very sharp yellow away kit. For this one, it's going to be Mancini in goal, Warburton and Esteban as a defensive partnership. Warburton, to be fair to him, has been good over the last couple of games. Esteban has been, El Mehdi Mokhtar has been suspended for 15 yellow cards this season. I think Mokhtar will still come in for the last game of the year, but hopefully Warburton can continue what has been a good little run of form over the last 3 games with a big performance for us at the back. Medjugorje and Cedron as the 2 wing-backs. Henry, really a star player this season. He was the focus of most of yesterday's episode because he was so good. And he'll anchor midfield alongside Leicester. Barbosa will play at the 10 in what I think might be his last real appearance as like a starting 11 player. We'll keep him around, of course. He's only 21 still. We want to try and get some of the guys that have been at the club for a few seasons sticking around. But 6.88 average rating for the season. I think we need something a little bit more in terms of that number 10 role, given the freedom that that role commands. Either a playmaker or someone chipping in with a few more goals, maybe a shadow striker or something like that. We're going to have a look at what's on the market and what we can bring in. Ortiz on the left wing, he was phenomenal. Probably stole the limelight a little bit from Henry. Also got the Player of the Month and the Young Player of the Month last episode, mainly for that 4-goal performance. Peacock plays over on the right-hand side. Our leading assist maker for the season has an outside chance of finishing as the highest assist player for the season thus far. And Rivera, leading the line up top, has chipped in with some huge goals over the last month or so. For Brighton, they are playing a very similar 4-2-3-1 to our usual structure. They've still got Jude Bellingham in midfield, 30 years of age somehow still. He's had quite the career, 115 England caps, 4-star current ability and potential. Left Birmingham in 2022, was at Newcastle for a good few seasons where he did quite well, was at Chelsea for a few seasons after that where I think he struggled to get in the first team, judging by his average ratings, but getting back into first team football at Brighton has seen his average rating for each year spike as well. Harvey Elliott over on the right hand side, their best player for the season thus far, 3.5-star current ability and potential, 31 years of age now, 1 England cap to his name. Never really got up and running at Liverpool from the looks of things, went out on loan a couple of different times. Made the odd appearance here or there before joining Brighton on loan, and then Brighton eventually securing his signature of £41 million back in 2028, where he has been pretty much never present in their side throughout the Premier League campaigns. Idemar, their leading assist maker for the season, a young Brazilian forward who was previously a wonder kid. Didn't quite hit the potential that I think he had early on in the game, but still very good. 19 dribbling, jumps out immediately. Some good physical attributes there as well. And their leading scorer on the left wing, Garcia, 24-year-old Spanish under-21 international, come through the Athletic Bilbao Academy and has been at Brighton now for a couple of seasons. So they've still got a bit about them. Make no mistake, Brighton still are a decent side. They just haven't had the best year. Passionately, we're going to say media have given a lot of credit lately. It's consistently working. And it's really not in the last episode of the season or the best idea to go and try and change anything. First highlight of the game, though, is Brighton in possession. Medjdu tracked Harvey Elliott quite well, but Lasala, the overlapping fullback, has made a good run. Ball into midfield to Bellingham. Now Idemar. This is where we have to be careful. That 19 dribbling, and it's a wonderful run and finish. 11th goal of the season for Idemar. We know that anything can happen when you reload a save, but Jesus, this is going to be quite frustrating if we do so well in our games yesterday against top flight opposition or top quality opposition and then have a bit of a challenge here against Brighton. It's a good run, and to be fair, I don't know who that was. Is it Cedron? Just there. It might have been Gary Lester. Just making that jumping lunge in midfield or in the box shouldn't really happen. Just stand the player up when they're that close to goal. Pugh now, deep ball for Brighton. Now Bellingham, back to Villa. Pugh again, all the way back to Patton in goal. Don't overcommit to the ball. Wait for the keeper to play it. Puts it to Bellingham in midfield, who's pretty much pulling the strings on his own at the moment. Long ball forward, thankfully cut back out. Now Peacock's got some space in front of him to move on this right-hand side. It's a good challenge. Garcia's going to keep it in for Brighton. Back into Bellingham. Clearance is decent into midfield as well. Back to Bellingham again. He seems to be their key creative pivot in midfield. Peacock wins it back in a good area though. Now Ortiz, what can the Colombian do on this left-hand side? Gets into a wide area, cuts it back to Barbosa, hits Peacock, and then the shot was closed down quite well by the Brighton defence. And then the next thing we see is Cedron getting injured, which we're not exactly prepared for. We don't have much option on the bench. Maybe Carlos Andre makes an appearance at right wing back. It's not his favoured side, but he has done a job for us previously. Let's go with that. You can kind of already feel, not the wheels coming off, I'm not going to say that, but definitely you can feel the pressure increasing, certainly where I'm sitting. Definitely getting those pit sweats into this episode quite early. Ortiz is going to play for the corner here towards Henry, and it's clipped the bar before Harvey Elliott smacks it away. So we've had our first real chance, our first probably key highlight. Wide free kick now for Brighton. Elliott goes near post, it pinballs around. Pugh got last touch, and Mancini does incredibly well to save and hold. Is that the end of the highlight, or are we going to see some more here? Warburton with the ball. Now to Medjdu, who has got some space in front of him. What can he do from a wide area? No one pressing him particularly urgently. And he's managed to keep possession quite well amongst two players there. Now Henry, back to Warburton. Now Esteban, work it out to the other side then, boys. Leicester finds Peacock. And good overlapping run from Andre. He's going to want to get it back on his left foot. Cuts it back to Barbosa. Square ball towards back stick. And it's headed away now. Elliott comes forward for Brighton. This is the danger on the counter-attack. Garcia with a lovely touch around the defender. Mancini does very well with the save. And then he's closed down again. Carlos Andre gets back and clears to save our blushes a little bit there. We need to get creative with about 10 minutes remaining in the half. Esteban's picked up a yellow card, and it looks like it's going to be a free kick from a decent area for a right-footed player, Menegazzo, to take for Brighton. Thankfully against the wall. Now Elliott. And he goes to strike from the edge of the area. 5th goal of the season for Harvey Elliott. We're going to check this one out in 3 dimensions. It always looks good when a ball goes in off the post. But what happened here? Menegazzo with the first one. And then a little ball to Elliott. He gets closed down pretty well. And who is it that made that challenge? Is it Carlos Andre? It's Larry Ortiz, who's not a natural tackler. To be fair to Elliott, a great strike in off the upright. And sees us drop down into 6th spot. Keeping in mind, a lot of those clubs still have games in hand on us where they could jump above. Leicester with the backstick ball. Ortiz was there. He just had to get that one on target just beyond the far post. Highlight continues. A fair few highlights here in this first half. Ball across to Villa. Now Menegazzo. And now out to Pugh, the left back for Brighton. Sends it to Garcia in the corner, who set up that initial run for the free kick. Back to him again. They're definitely getting a connection between Bellingham, and we've jumped in again. I think Carlos Andre has jumped in, and this Cedron injury is causing us all sorts of issues. It's going to be a chance from the penalty spot for Harvey Elliott to make it a double, and he's put it in off that fucking upright again. What is going on? We've been in excellent form. We've got a tactic that's really working, and Brighton all of a sudden are playing like Barcelona. And a good penalty, again, to be fair. Like, both his finishes have been excellent. Take nothing away from that. But it's the scenario and situation that gets us to that point. 3-0 down at half-time. Aggressively, show me something else in the second half, and then we're just going to go hell for leather. We're going to go super attacking. I'm going to put everyone in their preferred roles, and I think I'm going to do something incredibly stupid and just not play with a right wing back, because we don't have one that's good enough at the moment. Yeah, fuck it. We need goals. So we're going to play this weird, like, lopsided 3-2, 3-2. And let's just see what happens. Maybe this is the shape and formation that just breaks the match engine and we come back from 3-0 down at halftime in pretty much rampant fashion. Tottenham and Liverpool struggling as well. Elliott's wide free kick here. Goes towards back stick. Menegazzo pinballs around and Mancini does quite well to save and hold. Throwing out deep on the right-hand side for Brighton into Elliott, who all of a sudden is a Ballon d'Or winner. Lasala comes forward. Just stand him up, boys. Don't do anything silly. Garetta, Rivera with a good win, and we can square this up to Phillips' back stick if he finds the right ball. Instead, he goes himself. Just square it along the 6-yard box, lads. Would have been the simplest of tap-ins. Maybe given us a chance going into the last 30 minutes. Long ball forward towards Itamar, who does very well to bring it down and finds Garcia. Good covering run there from, I think that is a Leicester in the box. Does well to save everybody's blushes. We're going to say get creative, 30 minutes remaining. Wide free kick on Reed to take towards backstick. Peacock's in there, but Patton comes flying out and saves very, very well. What have we got moving forward? Rivera stays forward just to be a pain in the ass. Long ball forward now to the right-hand side. This is where we've got to be careful. Garcia's going to have some space to attack. Peacock does well to go with him, but then he skips past that one challenge and again cuts it back to Bellingham. Thankfully, the strike straight at Mancini does very well to save and hold. I don't really know what else we can do. We might use get creative again with 15 minutes remaining. Wide right area, Ortiz. Now Leicester with the ball. Garcia's won it back and he's got a mile of space in front of him to try and dribble, and Body's jumping forward in the middle. Someone's got to come to him. Square ball across to Itamar. How has that fallen to the middle? Like, okay, let's check this out in 3 dimensions. This is going to be one of those I crack the shits and throw a tantrum and whatever else kind of episodes. I can already feel it if it's not already at that point 4-0 down. Look at this ball across. We've got 4 players there. Warburton, how do you not get there? How does Medjugorje not get there first? Of course, Itamar gets there first and with 12 finishing, smashes it beyond the keeper. All right, pause. Let's do this. We've got a free kick in a good area. Peacock's having a horrific game. I should have taken him off way earlier. Assertively, I have faith in you. Get out there, make a difference today. It doesn't really matter in the end, does it? Henri, wide right free kick. He's clipped the crossbar again. Second time this match for him. And then Bellingham gets it away. Let's use get creative, 10 minutes remaining. Let's just see what we can try and bring back. I mean, I said our goal difference was shot. It's not helping losing 4-0 to Brighton, a Brighton side that aren't particularly good. And we drop out of the top 7 places, down on 67 points. Referee calls full-time a 4-0 defeat. Can you believe it? After a full month of wins against some very, very good sides, Brighton all of a sudden are the best team in the world. 19 shots, 11 on target, 43% possession, 16 shots, 5 on target, 57%. Statistically, clear-cut chances, they had 3 and scored 4 goals. So how does that work? That's for all the naysayers on Twitter that say the game doesn't do just fucking dumb things sometimes passionately or aggressively. Far from pleased with that result. And it does see us drop out of the European spots as things currently stand, down into 7th position going into the last game of the year. We do have to keep in mind Tottenham have a game in hand, Southampton have a game in hand, Liverpool have a game in hand, City and United both games in hand. Not that we're getting anywhere near either of those teams. Cedron's got a dislocated shoulder. Can I try and force him through the next game? I cannot. Don't worry about your injury then, I guess. At least Mokhtar's back, but we are going to have to try and fashion together some sort of backline shape for the last game of the season, which isn't ideal. It probably means Esteban moves out to be a right fullback or a no-nonsense fullback on defend. And then Mokhtar plays as maybe a ball-playing defender alongside Warburton as a stopper. It's not great. It's not what we want. And we are at home for the next game, so maybe we go attacking in the next one and just really try and score as many goals as humanly possible. Screw it. Let's have Esteban play as a wing-back on support. Why not? And let's go ball-playing defenders at the back. We're just going to go hell for leather. Last game of the season, let's just go out and try and win 4-3 or 5-4 or something like that. Magic for editing, though. We're going to jump forward to that match now. All right. We're going to be calm. We're going to just take in a deep breath. We're going to get our bearings again. We're going to calm back down. Yes, we just lost 4-0 to Brighton, who are shit. But we're going to find our balance. We're going to outmanage everybody. We're going to jump up above the division. Here is the scenario going into the final games. In 7th position, 67 points. FC Isle of Man. We have a horrific goal difference. So we really need one of Tottenham in 6th spot on 67 points as well. Liverpool on 68 points in 5th. Or Chelsea in 4th on 68 points to slip up and drop some points and hope that we win our game. If any of those sides draw and we win, we will go above them. We are an outside chance somehow to make Europa League football. I would take a conference playoff. I would take whatever I can get at this point. I want something secure so that we're not waiting to see what cup final results actually end up being. Here is the scenario about who everyone's playing. Isle of Man are playing Leicester at home, 12th position Leicester. Chelsea are away to Bristol City down in 20th, already relegated, nothing to play for. You'd assume Chelsea will get the result there, but you never know the way that these things go. Tottenham are at home to Norwich down in 14th, and Liverpool away at Wolves, who are in 18th spot and potentially fighting for their lives. Maybe that's where we get our bit of a bonus. Keep in mind though, Liverpool and Tottenham also in European finals, so there is a chance that they could finish below us and still take a final position in one of those competitions for the year. It's just going to be a clusterfuck. Let's just focus on trying to win our game, getting back to good form, getting back to whatever else. This is what we're going with. Attacking vertical tiki-taka. Esteban picked up a knock throughout the week as well. The fact that in January I sound Berber not realising that he couldn't play for the year has really bitten us in the ass a couple of times at this right back position. We're going to try and get him through the game. It's going to be fine. Mokhtar comes back in, having served his suspension. He'll play alongside Warburton. I'll put them both as ball-playing defenders. I want to try and trick Leicester into coming out a little bit so that we can attack in behind. That's the idea in my head. Watch now as Warburton gives the ball away 3 times and we could concede 3 goals to it in central defence. Otherwise, it is pretty much a full-strength lineup available for us. Just that backline adjustment is really the only change made. Looking now at Leicester's lineup, they're playing a 4-3-3. Billy Gilmore still going strong in the centre of the park there, 32 years of age now for the Scottish international. He's had a decent career, albeit an interesting career. Never really kicked on at Chelsea or made first-team appearances. Went on loan 6 seasons in a row, it looks like, before moving to Celtic, where he played a couple of times, didn't really set the world on fire, came back to Watford for a season, and then Leicester paid some decent money to pick him up towards the twilight of his career, where he's been for the last 6 years. They got Daly at the back here as well. Luke Daly, 32-year-old. Looks like he comes through maybe the Huddersfield Academy. He does indeed. He went out on loan for a little while, then played at Huddersfield for a couple of seasons, both in the Championship and the Premier League. He was at Newcastle for a little bit before joining Leicester most recently, which is where he has spent the last season. And then anchoring midfield, is this Xavi Simons? It is indeed. I wondered where he ended up. 31-year-old Dutch midfielder, the next Xavi. He was poached from Barcelona's academy by PSG on a free transfer, which is where he starts the database. Looks like he went out on loan a couple of times, never really made any PSG appearances of note, played more for PSG 2 before moving to Brentford on a free transfer in 2024. Then a big jump to West Brom, 7.25 million, then Borussia Dortmund for £28 million, then Shakhtar Donetsk, then back to PSG, where he finally made some first-team appearances last year, and now he's at Leicester. What a career he's had. Why didn't PSG play him back here when he could have been of some use to them? And then eventually let him go on a free, and then double down again, £21.5 million. Anyway, that's fine. That's not anything I have to worry about. Saracida, their top scorer up top, Chilean forward, 22 years of age, looks decent. Came through Universidad in Chile and then Rapid Vienna, when he's been now at Leicester for this season, scoring 8 goals in 33 appearances. We should be beating sides like passionately. Oh, we can secure our Champions League with a win. That's crazy. Sorry, I must have misread that. Top 4 is Champions League. Next 2 is Europa League. The last spot is that Champion or Europa Conference League playoff. Let's go passionately. Let's give the fans something to go home and, I don't know, crow about or get on Twitter about and call other fans dickheads or do whatever else. Henri, wide free kick, Eliors. Can we try and find an early goal would just settle my nerves tremendously. But a good header from Mokhtar and a good save from Simpson Reynolds. Highlight's going to continue here as well. Leicester don't seem super urgent trying to get out. We've let it bounce for whatever reason. Saracida plays it back. Hartley now with the strike. Thankfully, Mancini equal to it. Didn't have that much venom on it. Did quite well to save and hold. Why did we let that bounce? We've got 3 centre-backs out there at the minute. Nobody should be letting anything drop to ground level in our half. Very tense. Chelsea have already taken a lead in their game. Southampton are 2-0 up in their match. Nothing from Tottenham or Liverpool thus far. Medjugorje with the throw-in. Finds Ortiz. Pinballing around. Henri. Back to Barbosa at the edge of the area. If we need Lua Barbosa to contribute something, this is the time. But we've lost possession in midfield. Hartley comes forward for Leicester. He's going to wait for players to join him. Henri with a wonderful challenge. Sends it back towards Britain. Now across to Hubert. Oh, if Rivera had just stayed, he would have been on for the interception there. Now switch out to Morling. Barbosa, lovely work. I did just say we need something from him. He's on a great run here on the left-hand side. Instead of squaring it back up to the guy in the middle, he goes himself, and it's a horrific strike. Pretty much out for a throw-in. All right, through 30 minutes now, we're going to drop back down to positive, and we're going to use Get Creative. We do have a highlight that will come through before that change. Ball back stick towards Peacock, and we found Neil Peacock back of the bus. I nearly said back of the bus, and I've screwed up the lighting there. All kinds of different shit going on here. All right, Henri finds Medjugorje, swings it back post. It's a lovely ball. And Peacock, not the tallest man in the world. I'm not sure who that defender is that just misses the ball entirely for Leicester. But a good header, and he repays let's face it, he's probably repaid it already, but the £70 million we paid for him, I think we had to pay the rest of that fee off to Chelsea this season, and he has done very, very well there, potentially getting us a big European shortfall. Henri, ball over to Peacock again. Can he make it a double? It's a good save from Simpson Reynolds. Great ball again from Arnaud Henri. He is absolutely fantastic. I don't know why other clubs aren't interested in him already. Ortiz with the ball in, falls to Warburton. Back to Mokhtar now. Ortiz, what can he do on that left peg? Back to Mokhtar. Don't give it to the centre-back. We don't want him crossing the ball. And the highlight comes to an end anyway. 1 minute of additional time at the end of the half. We're through that now. So 13 shots, 8 on target, 51% possession. 3 shots, 2 on target, 49% for Leicester. Passionately. Pleased with how things are going. Keep it up. We're just going to stay on positive. And we'll keep an eye on things. We don't really need to go super mega attacking at any point just yet. We're going to throw in here. Esteban to take. Wide right area. Deep ball towards Ortiz. Back stick. It's clipped the inside of the post. And then Simmons gets it away. Is it Simmons or Simons? I don't really care. Looks like Chelsea are winning. It looks like Tottenham are winning. It looks like we might have just gone above Liverpool, keeping an eye on their game. Leicester with the ball now. Out wide right to Peacock. Tries to get one back across on his right foot. Edge of the area now. Goes left-footed instead. 9th goal of the season for him. An absolute thunderburst of a strike. And he's single-handedly dragging us through this game at the minute. Checks one out in 3 dimensions. Leicester out to Peacock. And he comes forward and he gets into a really good pocket of space here around the 10. And Leicester's defenders just stand off him the entire way. And that is a phenomenal strike on his not favoured foot. Keeper could do nothing about it. And thankfully, gives us a 2-goal margin, which eases my nerves a little bit. We've gone above Liverpool. Whisper it quietly. We're not going to say anything. It looks like Tottenham are potentially winning their game. And maybe Liverpool are losing theirs. Peacock with the ball here on the right-hand side. 60 minutes played. We will make a sub, I think, after this one. And he's tearing beyond defenders at the moment. Can he find the cut back to Rivera near post that pinballs around? Daly scrambles it clear. Saracita's going to get the ball on halfway. Warburton with a good recovery challenge. Now Leicester looks to send Ortiz into the corner, and the highlight comes to an end. So let's hit pause. Let's make those subs. Actually, first, before we do that, Liverpool drawing 0-0 with Wolves. We'll keep an eye on that one. Tottenham 1-0 up at Norwich. And Chelsea 2-0 up at Bristol. I would effectively say Chelsea's has already won. But maybe Norwich or Wolves could do us a massive favour. Tactically, we're going to jump in here. Barbosa hasn't had a great game. We'll bring on Mariano Oru and move him to be an advanced playmaker just to try and keep the ball or pull the strings a little bit more on that side. Ortiz also struggling a little bit. We might bring on Elliot Bloor as the winger on that side. He hasn't played much in the second half of the season due to injury. Let's also use our get creative shout here. Let's see if we can't get a third seal a goal and potentially get some goal difference back from the defeat against Brighton. Throwing now, right-hand side, Esteban to take. Oru with possession for us. Fresh sub off the bench in that free roll. Lose out to Daniels, who clears it long. Esteban puts it into a good area again. Peacock's going to recover possession. He's been very busy throughout the course of this game, and now he's doing little bits here and there, trying to pick up little half possessions for us. Ball into the wide right area for Peacock. He's great in 1v1s. He goes past one challenge, cuts it back. It's fallen back stick, and Elliot Bloor off the bench. 8th goal of the season for the English winger. Dislocated his shoulder probably around the start of this week, actually, if I think back to the amount of months we've played this week. But he was out for quite a while, and that is a great goal on his return from injury. And a valuable contribution from both him and Jimmy Winter have both been very, very good. Not playing in like starting roles, but just chipping in with goals here and there to help us through a variety of games. We're going to use our demand more shout. It looks like Liverpool might have taken a lead in their game. I just noticed us drop down the table. Mokhtar in possession. Across to Esteban. Now Mokhtar again. Esteban to Oru. Back to Mokhtar. Now Henri. Back to Mokhtar again. Warburton. We're keeping possession very effectively. Esteban back to Mokhtar. Just waiting for him to commit. Leicester loses out to McDermott. Now Hartley comes forward for Leicester. Let's try and keep a clean sheet, please, boys. Finds Saracita, and he finds a finish. As soon as it comes out of my mouth, Sports Interactive, of course, listening in on this microphone, as soon as saying, let's keep a clean sheet comes out of my mouth, of course it falls to Saracita, who just slots it home. The simplest of challenges, simplest of finishes as well. Everything falls apart. We've got 3 centre-backs just standing there kind of looking around. I know one of them's playing right back, but it still counts. And it looks like Liverpool have taken a lead. Tottenham still leading at Norwich as well. 4 minutes of additional time, which we're through now. 19 shots, 12 on target, 48% possession for us. Neil Peacock, fantastic. Leicester, 7 shots, 3 on target, 52% of the ball. Passionately, we're going to say, very pleased with the result and your performance. And everyone's responded positively. But what has that done to the final league table? We're into 7th, which I think... Okay, so here's how I think it plays out, right? Liverpool and Tottenham are currently in the Europa League, which means that Liverpool being in the Conference League, if they win their final, they go up into the next competition, which is Europa League, which they're already qualified for. So I think Liverpool's set. I think Tottenham are in the Europa League final, If they win that, they get Champions League football, and Chelsea potentially drops into Europa League, which means I think we have guaranteed ourselves European football by way of Europa Conference qualifier, which means we should play a playoff leg. If we go to rules, we should go to Europa Conference League playoff to potentially make the Euro Cup 2. And I guess if you're thinking about like progressively building a side, I've whacked the microphone cover. This has not been a great episode in terms of content creation or anything or results. But if you think about like gradually building up, we probably want to go Conference League first, get used to European football, then make the jump to Europa League, then make the jump to Champions League football, or hopefully challenging for the Premier League title around the same time. So I think as far as our progression goes and the long-term view of this save goes, it might have worked out in our benefit, but maybe I'm just looking a bit glass half full in that instance. Peacock gets a man of the match award, 9.2 match rating for him. We qualify for the Europa Conference League. Okay, so that has confirmed that we are definitely in a playoff next season. That'll probably be the first games that you guys see next week's season. Peacock is on form, 2 goals and 1 assist. He was fantastic. We'll give him a bit of praise as well. And we get £31.97 million for finishing in 7th place, our highest finish so far in the English Premier Division, and $1.5 million to be paid out after finishing 7th in the league to the squad and the backroom staff, which is very well deserved from each of them. Oh my goodness, what a season. What a bunch of different ups and downs we've had throughout the course of the time. I'm going to give everyone a rest day just for the hell of it. Let's go and get pissed, lads. Let's head to the pub. As far as the league is concerned, United finished top, City, Southampton and Chelsea in the Champions League places, albeit with Tottenham have another chance to join the Champions League group as well. Liverpool the other side in Europa League, and ourselves in Euro Cup 2 for next season. We finished 11 points clear of Bournemouth in 8th spot, and Leeds level with them as well. We had positive goal difference on them also, but really it's just that last jump we've got to make towards being like a top 6 side. Southampton, will be interesting to see if they maintain that same level next season, or if Arsenal get their gear together and jump back into European football. As far as the league concerned, Henry finished with the 3rd highest average rating for the season. Peacock, equal with Sergio Gomez at Liverpool for 13 assists for the year. Mokhtar, 15 yellow cards for the season, led the division as well, and United, 4-time champions in a row. Wolves, Brentford and Bristol go down. We'll go and check out their squads and see if they've got any talented young English players that we can maybe try and poach, but you guys will learn more about that next week. Let's jump forward a couple of days, see our end of season awards and all that sort of stuff. So first award of the year, Arnaud Henry wins the English Players Young Player of the Year award. The 18-year-old was phenomenal this season, 7.39 average rating for the year. Going to passionately give him a bit of praise as well. Initial budgets for next season, £1 million a week to spend on wages, which I think we're well and truly under at the moment, and £60.76 million in the transfer budget. We've got a few players that we're keeping an eye on, but in reality, I think I want to keep most of this group together. I don't think I really want to try and get rid of anyone just yet, because a lot of the guys that we've got around 21 years of age probably still have a little bit of potential left in them. We will keep an eye on it. You can see like Gary Lester's wanted by Watford, Neil Peacock's wanted by Man City, Mariano Oru's wanted by Vancouver, and I'm sure there'll be a couple other players once we tick over into the new year that other clubs want to start looking at as well. But in reality, I think we just want to try and improve some of our current ability. If we're going to bring in wonder kids, if we're going to break the bank, we want to try and make sure that they are ready to currently play first team football. We don't really need further future prospects. But of course, there is that part of me that always wants to try and get a full wonder kid 11 out on the park if I can, at least before this series ends. We want to try and do that. Some international duties. Nonye goes with Canada. Nonye will probably leave this off-season, if I'm being honest. Neil Peacock, our first England international, makes the squad for I think the first time in his career. It's an extended squad, though. It'll be interesting to see if he actually makes the final cut. Oh, actually, I take that back. Henry Doran, who we previously had on loan for a season, back when we first got into the championship, and he scored 30 goals in 46 games for us in a phenomenal display. He's also in the England squad at the moment as well. He's been at Chelsea for a while, and then at Celtic for the last few seasons. So there you go. We've got one current player and one previous player in the England team at the minute. Arnaud Henry makes the French squad, which is a phenomenal achievement for him. It's a very strong French team, as you can imagine, and he's the youngest player in that squad by quite some way. Mancini gets the call up for the Argentina national side as well. Very impressive for the 20-year-old wonder kid keeper. And Larry Ortiz makes the Colombia squad as well. So we've got a few of these youngsters starting to become very well known in international circles as well. All right, and here we are at the end of season awards. Arnaud Henry, unsurprisingly, the best player this season, 63% of the vote. Leicester, 16%. Very interesting considering he wasn't in the starting lineup at the start of the year when I wrote the team down. and Ortiz getting 12% of the vote as well. Goal of the season, I think this one at Ortiz's 4 against Southampton. We'll check it out here in 3 dimensions. There are a couple of great goals that he scored. Of course, that was earlier this week. And it might be this one here where he wins it back from Roos and then goes on a bit of a run, waits for the centre-back to commit, and then just leathers it past the goalkeeper. Look, I don't think it's the greatest goal I've ever seen, but he did run a long way. He did win a tackle and he did find a great finish, and he was phenomenal in that game. Signing of the season, Ono Henry, £50 million, looks like an absolute steal for him, and young player of the season as well. Starting 11, pretty much exactly what you'd expect it to be from our starting 11 for the season. At the end of the year, Medjugorje pretty much took over that left-back spot, but Carlos Andre gets it out of the course of the year. Season review, 7th in the Premier Division, lost in the 5th round to Chelsea, the FA Cup, and lost in the 3rd round to Wolves of the Carabao Cup, albeit on penalties, I'm pretty sure. Next season, they want us to make the most of set pieces, play high-tempo pressing football, and play possession football. A 5-year plan is to work within wage budget, minimum 3-year contracts for first-team players, that's fine, and expand the stadium. That's not really up to me. You guys kind of have to make that decision. And we're going to avoid relegation next season and hopefully make the quarterfinals of the Europa Conference League, which is kind of a little bit, you know, like we're either going to avoid relegation in the league, but then also like get to the quarterfinals of the European competition. That doesn't seem to balance in my head, but we'll see how it goes. Lou Barbosa moves to a team leader. Lester Peacock and Cedron just behind them is highly influential, and a few other influential players in the squad as well. Dressing room atmosphere, very good, and managerial support, understandably excellent given my long tenure at the club. We get to arrange a pre-season training camp. Where are we going to go? US, Germany, Austria, South Africa, Scotland, Holland, Hong Kong, Singapore, or China. I think China's probably the most lucrative. Maybe the USA. Let's go to the USA, why not? Commercial summary, always an interesting one. Peacock, Henry, Ortiz, Bloor, and Barbosa as the top 5 shirts sold this season. Everything else is up. Main kit sponsorships are up. Sponsorships are up. Corporate hospitality is down a little bit. Prize money is up for us as well with the highest finish. Matchday commercial retail is down. I think that's because we've moved into our smaller stadium, and DW last year was a little bit bigger, and broadcast revenues down on last season. Scouting budgets, whatever that is, and stadium expansion plans are announced. Okay, what does this mean for us? Do we have to go and play in a different stadium? They're adding 5,000 seats, which will take us to 17,775 capacity, which is fantastic. £6.25 million, 6 months to complete, and the ground's capacity will temporarily be reduced as one of the stands will be closed during this renovation. That I'm actually okay with. We don't have to go and play in England anywhere. We don't have to go back to Wigan. We are building upon what we've already got. Training and youth facilities getting upgraded, which is great. I'll ask the board to do data analysis facilities as well. And now the last little bit I want to see is these European final results and see who actually won. Okay, we've got a bit to go through. So World Cup squads are named. We've got a couple of players from our groups, potentially still going to make those groups. The former players are George Escobar for Uruguay, Hernandez for Venezuela, Madrigal for Costa Rica, Sean Dixon for Australia, Mohamed Dillapor for Iran, and Mohamed Hosseini for Iran as well. Now, looking at the European results, Roma actually beat Manchester United 2-1 in the Champions League final, so they become the reigning defending champions. Have a quick sneaky look. Have they got any wonder kids in their squad that we can maybe potentially poach? Oh, Pablo Donato. We might keep an eye on him. In the Europa League, Tottenham beat Milan 2-0. And in the Conference League final, Liverpool have beaten Napoli 2-0 as well. United, funnily enough, champions of the division, letting everyone down on an English clean sweep. What does that mean for us? It means that we qualify for the UEFA Europa League. So the way it works, apparently, Liverpool had already qualified for Europa League, and instead of Tottenham, after winning the Europa League, going up into Chelsea's Champions League spot, apparently there's going to be 5 English teams in the Champions League next season, which means we get an additional Europa League spot, which is absolutely fantastic. I don't know what that means for like that last Europa Conference position. I don't know if Bournemouth gets it or if we only get capped at 7 and it just means that we have a higher representation in the Champions League next year. I don't know, but we are going to be playing Europa League football against some massive, massive sides next year. It'll be ourselves and Liverpool representing England in that competition. Oh, it's been a long one. It's been an up and down roller coaster of a season. It's felt like I feel about 10 years older, if I'm being completely honest, in terms of football manager years. But I love the game for all its frustrations, for the amount of time it pisses me off and upsets me. I do love it a tremendous amount. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the journey as well. It's not going to stop. We're going to keep going next year as well. We're going to keep going into the future all the way through to the release of FM21. If you've got any feedback, positive or negative, drop it in the comment section below. If you've got one season wonder saves, I think we've got one in 2 weeks' time, that you want to see, drop it in the comment section below. But more than anything, I just appreciate you guys watching and carrying on the journey with me. I've been Sean, and I'll see you all again in the mixer.